Did you know that during the Falklands War, the Argentine Air Force managed to sink, set fire to, or put out of action several of the Royal Navy's most modern warships in a matter of minutes? Yes, one of the most powerful navies on the planet, backed by NATO, with aircraft carriers, state-of-the-art destroyers, and advanced anti-aircraft missiles. And yet, it was caught off guard. In the South Atlantic, pilots flying aging aircraft, loaded with unguided bombs and brand-new missiles, broke through a wall of radars, Sea Dart missiles, and Sea Harrier fighters, flying less than 20 meters above the sea. The result was devastating. The HMS Sheffield burning after the impact of an exocet, the HMS Coventry listing until it disappeared beneath the water. The Sir Galahad turned into a floating inferno in Bluff Cove. Frigates like the Ardent and the Antelope broken apart and sunk in San Carlos. In just a few weeks, the Royal Navy suffered its worst naval losses since the Second World War. But how? Was it possible that an air force with enormous logistical limitations, no air superiority, and flying at the absolute limit of its fuel range managed to hit a historic maritime power so hard? Today we are going to reconstruct step by step how the Argentine Air Force became the nightmare of the British fleet in 1982. Get ready, because what happened in the South Atlantic changed modern naval warfare forever. April 2nd, 1982. Argentina lands on the Falkland Islands and takes control of the archipelago. The operation is swift. The British garrison surrenders. In Buenos Aires there is euphoria, but London's response is not slow in coming. Margaret Thatcher orders the immediate mobilization of a task force that would travel more than 12,000 kilometers to the South Atlantic. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, frigates, nuclear submarines, and logistics ships set sail toward a war the entire world considered already decided. On paper, there was no comparison possible. The Royal Navy had aircraft, carriers with Sea Harriers, Type 42 destroyers equipped with Sea Dart missiles, frigates with Seawolf systems, nuclear submarines with long-range torpedoes, and full logistical support from NATO. Argentina, on the other hand, faced enormous limitations. A 4 Skyhawks with decades of service, daggers without sophisticated radar, conventional bombs that often failed to detonate, extreme distances from the mainland, little fuel margin, insufficient aerial refueling. But there was one factor that did not appear in any technical report: determination. From the very beginning, the Argentine commanders knew something crucial. If the British fleet managed to establish a stable air and naval bridge at San Carlos, the war would be lost. The only way to level the playing field was one thing: hit the fleet. Not on land, not in trenches, at sea. Because every ship sunk was not just steel under the water. It was lost logistics, shattered morale, time gained. And on May 2nd, everything changed. The AE nuclear submarine HMS Conqueror fired its torpedoes at the ARA General Belgrano. The Argentine cruiser was doomed. 323 men died in freezing waters. That moment marked a point of no return. The war was no longer a show of force. It was a total war. And in the air bases of southern Argentina, pilots began preparing for something many considered almost suicidal: directly attacking the most powerful fleet in the hemisphere. What the British did not yet know was that the South Atlantic was about to become an aerial inferno. May 4th, 1982. The South Atlantic dawns gray, covered in low clouds and a cutting wind carrying fine rain across the surface of the sea. For the British fleet, it is another day of patrol. The Type 42 destroyers hold their positions, alert to submarine threats. On deck, the routine continues with a confidence that has not yet been broken. The HMS Sheffield navigates at the south of the naval formation. It is modern, well-armed, and its crew trusts its CDOT system. The officers know the Argentines have old planes, conventional bombs, and scarce fuel. The air threat exists, yes, but it does not seem decisive. In Rio Grande, in the south of the continent, the scene is completely different. Two Super Etendards wait on the runway. Under their wings hang AM-39 Exocet missiles. They have never been tested in combat. They are new, they are scarce, and they might not work. The pilots know they have only one chance. They take off at 9:30 in the morning, flying low. Extremely low. Just 15 to 20 meters above the water. At that altitude, the enemy radar loses effectiveness, but any mistake means hitting the sea. There is no margin. There is no second chance. The Neptune reconnaissance aircraft has already located targets. It transmits the position. The British have no idea they are being tracked. As they close in, the silence in the cockpit becomes almost physical. No radio, only visual signals, only procedures practiced until they are second nature. At 40 kilometers from the target, they briefly ascend to activate radar. It is the most dangerous moment. The Sheffield detects something, but it is too late. Both pilots fire. The exocets detach and descend, skimming the surface of the sea. They are invisible for most of their trajectory. On the Sheffield, someone shouts, "They can see a trail." There are seconds, barely seconds. One of the missiles strikes the starboard side and penetrates the hull. The internal explosion is not immediate, like a conventional bomb, but the missile's fuel starts a devastating fire. Inside the ship, smoke spreads rapidly. Systems fail. The firefighting pumps lose pressure. Communications collapse. The crew tries to contain the fire, but the blaze becomes uncontrollable. 21 sailors die. 63 are wounded. The destroyer is condemned. What had begun as a fleet confident in its technological superiority now faces a different reality. Argentina possesses a weapon capable of breaking through its defenses. And the most unsettling thing for London is not just the material damage. It is the strategic signal. The Royal Navy can be hit. It can burn. It can sink. The Sheffield becomes the first British warship destroyed by a missile since the Second World War. And the worst part for the British is that it would not be the last. June 8, 1982. The war is entering its final phase. British troops are advancing toward Puerto Argentino. Argentine surrender seems like a matter of time. But in Bluff Cove, to the east of East Falkland, a critical operation is underway. British logistics ships are transporting troops, vehicles, and supplies to reinforce the land advance. Among them are the RFA Sir Galahad and the RFA Sir Tristram. The plan is to disembark quickly and consolidate positions. What they do not know is that they have been detected. On the mainland, the Southern Air Force Command receives clear intelligence. Large ships are concentrated in the bay. If they are allowed to disembark without opposition, the final blow against Argentine defenses will be inevitable. The decision is immediate. Attack. A squadron of A4 Skyhawks takes off from Rio Gallegos. They carry conventional bombs. They fly at the fuel limit. They cross the sea in silence, hugging the surface. No adequate escort, no air superiority, only speed and surprise. When they approach Bluff Cove, the sky is clear. Too clear. From the British ships, some sailors begin to hear a distant sound. Engines. They look up and see them. The Skyhawks appear skimming the surface, rising almost from the water itself. There is no time to reorganize defenses. The Argentines come in directly over the Sir Galahad. The bombs fall one after another. The impact turns the interior of the ship into an inferno. Ammunition, fuel, metal structures, everything burns. 48 men die, many of them from the Welsh Guards. The fire is so intense that the rescue operation descends into chaos. The images will travel around the world. The Sir Tristram is also hit. It is left critically damaged. In minutes, the disembarkation operation turns into disaster. For the Royal Navy, it is the bloodiest day since the Second World War. Morale is shaken. The fleet has already lost destroyers, frigates, and logistics ships. It has suffered fires, evacuations, and rescues under fire. And all of this against an air force that on paper was inferior. However, time is already working against Argentina. Despite the devastating blow at Bluff Cove, British superiority on land holds. Reinforcements keep arriving. The pressure on Puerto Argentino increases. 6 days later, on June 14th, Argentina surrenders. The war is over. May 21st, 1982. British forces begin their landing at the San Carlos Strait. It is the most important movement of the entire campaign. If they manage to establish a solid beachhead, they can advance toward Puerto Argentino and close out the war. The operation is massive. Frigates, destroyers, logistics ships, landing craft, helicopters constantly coming and going, infantry descending ramps, heavy equipment touching ground. In London, they are confident the anti-aircraft cover will be sufficient. But in the Argentine mainland bases, the order has already been given. Attack. There is no margin for error. The planes must take off from Rio Gallegos or Rio Grande. Cover. Hundreds of kilometers over open sea. Fight and return with fuel at the absolute limit. Many come back with the gauge reading almost zero. That May 21st, the A-4 Skyhawks begin appearing at sea level. They are tiny specks that grow too fast. They fly so low, the salt hits the cockpit. So low, the British radars barely detect them. So low that any failure means hitting the sea. Over San Carlos, the sky becomes a trap. The Sea Dart and Sea Wolf defenses try to respond. The Harriers scramble to intercept. Tracer fire fills the air. But the Argentines are not coming to dogfight. They are coming to drop their bombs and get out. The HMS Ardent is one of the first targets. Bombs hit. Some do not explode. Others do. The fire begins to spread. The internal compartments fill with smoke. The frigate is mortally wounded. Hours later, it sinks. Shortly after, the HMS Antelope suffers a similar fate. Bombs launched at extremely high speed penetrate the hull. One of them fails to detonate. They try to defuse it. During the operation, the bomb explodes. The ship splits in two and sinks the following day. San Carlos becomes known to the British as Bomb Alley. Every day is a gamble. The ships fire without pause. Sailors sleep with their helmets on. Every radar echo triggers tension. The Royal Navy begins to understand something that was not in any manual. The threat is not only technological, it is human. Pilots who know their chances of survival are low and enter anyway. In a matter of days, the British fleet accumulates serious damage, fires, sunken ships, and dozens of casualties. And the most worrying thing, the landing is still not secured. The South Atlantic has become a board where every minute can cost hundreds of lives. And what is about to happen on May 25th will be even worse. May 25th, 1982. In Argentina, it is National Day. In the South Atlantic, it is a day of combat. The HMS Coventry navigates alongside the frigate HMS Broadsword, north of Pebble Island. Its mission is clear: act as an advanced anti-aircraft shield to protect the bulk of the fleet and the British landing at San Carlos. The Coventry is not a minor vessel. It is a Type 42 destroyer, equipped with Sea Dart missiles capable of reaching targets dozens of kilometers away. It has already shot down Argentine aircraft. Its crew trusts in its capability. But there is a weakness. The Sea Dart system struggles against targets flying extremely low, and the Argentines know it. In Rio Gallegos, 4 Skyhawks received the order to take off. They carry conventional bombs. No guidance systems, no sophisticated technology, only speed, minimum altitude, and precision. The mission is simple in theory. Go in, drop, get out. But every phase means breaking through a wall of fire. They fly, skimming the surface. So low, there is barely any space between the aircraft and the water. The British radar on the Coventry loses intermittent contact. The echoes appear and disappear. Confusion, alerts, missile preparation. The Skyhawks emerge on the horizon. The Sea Dart is launched, but the missile designed to intercept high-altitude targets fails to lock correctly. The Coventry performs a sharp maneuver to improve its firing position. That maneuver leaves its broadside exposed. This is the moment. One of the Argentine pilots gains just enough altitude. He aims, he releases. The bombs fall in fractions of a second. 2 hit. One penetrates the engine room. Another strikes critical internal areas. The explosion is devastating. The destroyer begins listing rapidly to port. Smoke and fire expand. Internal systems collapse. In less than 20 minutes, the ship is abandoned. 19 British sailors die. More than 30 are wounded. The HMS Coventry disappears beneath the waters of the South Atlantic. For the Royal Navy, the psychological impact is profound. This is not just a damaged frigate. It is another modern destroyer sunk by old aircraft. It is more proof that the Argentine threat is not a footnote. It is real, it is persistent, and it is hitting where it hurts most, at the heart of naval power. Meanwhile, on the mainland, pilots return with critical fuel levels. Some do not come back. Others land with damaged aircraft. But the message has been sent. The British fleet is no longer sailing safely, and the worst is still to come. Because in June, when everything seemed to be heading toward British victory, the darkest day for their fleet was about to arrive. The Falklands War ended on June 14, 1982. The United Kingdom recovered control of the archipelago. Militarily, the victory was British. But in the South Atlantic, something remained that no official report could erase. For weeks, Argentine pilots took off knowing many would not return. They flew hundreds of kilometers over open sea, entered the most defended airspace in the hemisphere, and attacked a fleet considered almost untouchable. The HMS Sheffield, the HMS Coventry, the HMS Ardent, the HMS Antelope, the Sir Galahad, the Sir Tristram, and many other damaged ships. This was not a war of technological superiority. It was a war of decision, millimetric calculation, and extreme risk. The Argentines had no air advantage, no sufficient refueling, no modern bombs in many cases. They had minutes of fuel, a single attempt, and an entire ocean between them and their base. For the Royal Navy, those weeks changed doctrines, forced a rethinking of defense systems, reinforced anti-missile protection, and modernized protocols. Because the South Atlantic left one clear lesson. Technology is not invulnerable, and a determined force can shift the balance even against a historic power. The war had a winner. But it also left an indelible mark on modern naval history. It proved that in 1982, the sky above the South Atlantic was the place where a Latin American Air Force challenged and struck one of the most powerful navies in the world. Did you enjoy this journey through history? Then subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode full of incredible stories. See you in the next one.